If you're looking to get started investing in the stock market, investing in index funds is one of the easiest ways to get started. In fact, it's what Warren Buffett recommends most average investors actually do. Back in 2007, Warren Buffett offered up a challenge to the hedge fund industry. He stated that over a 10-year period from 2008 to 2017, index funds would outperform a hand-picked portfolio of hedge funds, net of expenses and fees. Ted Sides, co-founder of Protege Partners LLC, took him up on the bet. Buffett chose a Vanguard S&P 500 index as his fund of choice, with Ted picking 5 active funds for his portfolio. The results are more shocking than you might expect. Ted's active funds returned 36.3% net of fees over that 10-year period, while Buffett's S&P 500 index, it returned a whopping 125.8%. That's a huge difference. If the people who trade the markets for a living can't beat the market, we probably can't either. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what an index fund is, how to choose a good index fund to invest in, and exactly how you can go out there and buy your first index fund step by step. So what is an index fund? Let's think about this in terms of music. You can think of an index fund like a music playlist that's designed to represent a particular mood or genre. Just like a playlist contains a variety of songs by different artists, an index fund holds a variety of stocks or bonds from different companies. When you create a playlist, you might select songs based on a certain theme like EDM or rap. Similarly, an index fund is based on a specific market index, such as the S&P 500 or the FTSE 100. The index acts as the theme of the fund, guiding what stocks or bonds it's going to include. Stocks are included in an index based on predetermined criteria. Just as playlists are updated with new songs, index funds are regularly updated to include stocks that best represent the market segment that they are tracking. By investing in an index fund, you're investing in a diversified range of stocks, spreading your risk across multiple stocks rather than betting on just a few individual ones. There are 4 main benefits to investing in an index fund over investing in individual stocks. You've got diversification, cost effectiveness, simplicity, and performance. First up, we have diversification. An index fund contains a variety of stocks based on the fund that you invest in. This variety helps to spread your risk. If one stock doesn't perform well, others might, and this balances out your investment. 2 is cost effectiveness. Index funds are often more affordable than buying individual stocks. They typically have lower fees because they're passively managed. This means more of your money stays invested and working for you rather than getting blown on fees. Point number 3 is simplicity. Investing in index funds is like using a GPS for a road trip. You don't need to know every single turn in the road. The GPS will give you the full route. Similarly, with index funds, you don't need to pick individual stocks or constantly watch the market. The fund follows the market index, making investing simpler for you. Most people don't want or need to spend hours per week looking at stocks. Last but not least is performance. Historically, index funds have shown strong long-term performance. While they may not beat the market, they do aim to mirror it. For many investors, especially beginners, keeping up with the market is a solid strategy. For example, if you invested £500 per month in index funds and got a 9.9% annual return, which is the 30-year annualized return of the S&P over the last 30 years, you would have 1.1 million while only investing £180,000 of your own money. That's the power of compound returns over long periods of time. There's one more thing it also gives you a huge compounding return over time, and that is subscribing to the channel right now. If you enjoy our videos, go ahead, hit that button. So now we know the benefits of index funds, you need to decide what type of fund that you want to go out there and invest in. For me, I like to invest in a global index fund that holds stocks in all of developed markets with a heavy weighting towards the United States. Most of global market growth has come out of the United States in the past 10 years. And personally, I think that will be similar in the next 10 years or so, mostly because of AI, and I want to have my portfolio invested in the United States. But I also want to have some exposure to other markets for diversification. I want my wealth to grow as the global market grows as a whole. Some people prefer to invest solely in the United States or solely in the UK. But for most investors, I think a good place to start is with a global fund that you plan to hold for a long period of time. So now we know our objective with our investments, to invest in the global stock market with a large weighting towards the United States, we can start looking for a fund that meets that criteria. Personally, I like to use the Hargreaves Lansdown Index Fund page to find funds that meet my needs. Let's jump in and take a look at that on the computer right now. So this right here is the Hargreaves Lansdown Index Tracker Funds page, and this shows all of the index funds available on Hargreaves Lansdown, which is a brokerage. So once you come to this page, you can actually search by sector. So depending on what you want to invest in, it might be global index funds, it might be, funds in Asia Pacific here, it might be funds in, Europe excluding UK, it might just be UK, or it might just be North America. So what I'm going to do is come up here and I'm going to go to global because I want the global index fund, and then I'm going to click on search right here. So when we do that, we'll get just global funds. But there's a lot of funds that appear here. We've got probably 20, near 30. And you can see some popular companies that you may have heard of: Vanguard, Fidelity, Legal & General here. There are hundreds of index funds available to invest in, so it's important to choose ones with solid fundamentals. 3 things that you want to look at before investing are the fees, historical performance of the fund, and their assets under management. In terms of fees, index funds have significantly cheaper fees than active funds. Index funds in the UK generally have fees of around 0.06% to about 0.2%, whereas actively managed funds have fees of in around 0.2%, which can make a huge difference to your returns over long periods of time. This is one of the main reasons that Warren Buffett's index fund from the beginning of the video massively outperformed the portfolio of actively managed funds. Next up is historical performance. This is like checking a car's track record before buying it. Historical performance shows how the fund has done in the past, and while past performance isn't an indicator or guarantee of future results, it does give you an idea how the fund has navigated different market conditions. Understanding a fund's track record helps you set realistic expectations and choose a fund that aligns with your investment goal. Last but not least is assets under management, or AUM. AUM indicates the total market value of all of the investments in the fund. Funds with higher AUM are generally more established and can have lower transaction costs due to economies of scale. So now that we know what to look for, let's find a fund that meets our needs. So I'm back here in the Index Tracker Funds page on Hargreaves Lansdown, and we know that we're looking for a global fund, ideally weighted towards America. We also want it to have a net ongoing charge of less than 0.2%. We want it to have a reasonable track record and also have a reasonable amount of assets under management. So a fund that I really like is this one right here, the Fidelity Index World. And as you can see, there's actually 2 with the same name. One's accumulation and one is income. That means that the accumulation fund, any dividends paid out from the companies in that fund are going to be reinvested automatically. And income, it's going to pay those dividends out as distributions in your portfolio. So this one here is 0.12%. There's a lot here. Most of them are in around like 0.13, 0.2, 0.15. There's a couple of cheaper ones, and you can look at them and you can analyze them. But for me, I know that Fidelity Index World is a good fund that I actually invest in myself. So I'm going to go ahead and select it right here. And as you can see, you get an overview of the whole stock. So what we want to do is just double check that it's 0.12% ongoing charge. Next, we can check the assets under management. If you scroll down here, you can see the fund size. This is 5,637 million, which is 5.6 billion. That is a fairly reasonable amount under management. Anything in the billions, you're pretty much good to go there. You will find some funds that are in the hundreds of millions, and they might not be benefiting from some of those cost savings that a fund like this will get. But this one here checks out for our criteria. Last but not least, we can look at the historical performance, and you can also see that here over the last 5 years. So you can see 18 to 19, 16%, 11%, 22% in that really good year of 20 to 21 there. And then obviously it went down in the 22 year because we had a down market, but it actually went down less than the market there, which again, also good. And that's pretty much why I invest in this fund. It's like my pillar fund in my portfolio. And then here it's done 9.5% to pretty much today in the trailing 12 months. So we can also go ahead and do some deeper research to make sure this fund invests in what we want it to. So if we scroll down again, we can see that this is actually invested in 1,513 different companies across the world. You can come down to the top 10 holdings to see exactly what the biggest companies are it holds. It's pretty much like the exact same as the top 10 countries in the S&P 500 right here. You've Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and that's completely fine. And then if we also come over here to fund analysis, as I mentioned before, I want to be heavily weighted towards the United States. So I want to see that it's geographically pretty much investing in the United States market. We can see here that 68% of the fund is invested in North America, 65% United States, 3% Canada, and then you 14% here in developed Europe. You also have 4% in the UK and some just in the rest of the world. So the majority is invested in the United States, which is good, as that's where I think most of the growth is going to come from. You might think differently, so you might want to find a fund that invests in just the UK if you think the UK is going to perform really well. But pretty much for most people, if you're just trying to invest passively, this is a good diversified fund. Now that we've found a fund that meets our criteria, we can go out there and make our first investment. So I'm going to take you through this step by step. Step-by-step guide to investing in index funds. First, you need to pick a brokerage where you can buy the index funds of your choice. Index funds are quite unique as they're not listed on the stock market. You can buy them direct from the fund provider, such as Vanguard or Fidelity, or you can purchase them on some brokerage platforms. For example, if you want to invest in the Fidelity Index World Fund that we previously mentioned, you can go directly to the Fidelity website, create an account, and purchase the fund there. When you invest through the fund provider, there are usually account fees on top of the annual fund charge of 0.12% that we discussed before. Fidelity typically charges 0.35% service fee on your account. However, if you have a large account balance, there are discounts available. In the UK, I personally like to buy my index funds through Hargreaves Lansdown. On their platform, you can purchase funds from many different providers. So if you want to hold multiple funds from different providers, you can do it all under one roof. And this makes things much easier to manage if you have a lot of holdings. Hargreaves Lansdown do charge a 0.45% per year fee on funds up to £250,000. So it is slightly more expensive, but personally, I'm willing to pay for it to have the ability to have all of my investments in one place. I've also used Hargreaves Lansdown for 7 to 8 years, and their customer service has always been great for me. So once you've decided on a brokerage, you need to decide on the type of account that you're going to set up within the brokerage. With Hargreaves Lansdown, you've got 3 choices. You can have a general investment account, an ISA, or a self-invested personal pension. A general account is just a standard investing account that lets you buy and sell funds and shares. However, in a general account, you've no tax benefits and you'll have to pay any tax on capital gains or dividends over your annual allowances. Many new investors don't know about the benefits of investing through an ISA or a SIP. Currently, a stocks and shares ISA allows investors to invest up to £20,000 per year. Any gains or dividends made in this account are tax-free. If you let your money compound for decades, this could literally save you hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions in tax. SIPs also have some tax benefits. The government will actually top up your contribution. For every £100 you add to your SIP, the government will add an extra £25. However, with pensions, you're unable to withdraw the money until you reach the minimum pension age. Your money can grow tax-free while in your pension, but you'll be taxed income tax when withdrawing from the pension. Personally, I invest through an ISA as it shelters my money from tax and I have the freedom to use that money at any time if I need to. Once you've created your account of choice, it's time to make your first investment. I'm going to jump into Hargreaves Lansdown right now and buy some shares in the Fidelity World Index. So I'm inside my stocks and shares ISA with Hargreaves Lansdown right here. I have £1,140 available to invest in my account. So what I'm going to do is come up here to investments. I'm going to search for the Fidelity Index World Fund, or you could click on this from the page I showed you earlier, but I'm going to click on the accumulation version of the fund here. That's the one that I buy, and I'm simply going to click on invest now. You will have had to top up your account before this. That's as simple as using your debit card, or you could go ahead and send a bank transfer, but I'm going to come down. As you can see, I own some of this fund already, so I'm going to go to buy more, and I'm just going to invest £1,000 right here. So I'm going to click continue. It'll show me some extra details here. It won't purchase it right now because, as we mentioned previously, index funds can only be purchased at one point in the day. But once that point arrives, it will place a deal at whatever today's price is. So I'm going to click place a deal right now, and that will buy me, when the market opens, £1,000 off that fund. So you can see here in my pending orders, it will sit here until that is actually fulfilled and the transaction comes through. Once that purchase goes through, you will then be able to see these funds inside your account. So you can see here, I have 17,000 units of this Fidelity Index World Fund in my account. And it's really as simple as that. You've now bought your first stocks. But you might be asking, how much do I need to invest? You know, I don't have very much money right now, so what's even the point in doing this? Many people think that you need thousands of pounds to get started with investing, but that's simply just not true. With index funds, there sometimes can be a minimum investment depending on the platform that you invest with. On Vanguard, the minimum single investment is £500 or a £100 monthly contribution. On Hargreaves Lansdown, you can invest in index funds from as little as £100. If you're young, I would highly recommend just getting started investing. Even just £100 per month can turn into huge sums of money over long periods of time. If you invest £100 per month from 20 to 65 and get a 10% average rate of return, you would end up with over £1,048,250 at retirement. If you want to learn more about why investing early is so important, check out this video right here. And that's pretty much it. That's everything that you need to know about index funds. Hopefully you've learned something in this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more. If you want to learn how I built a £100,000 portfolio by the age of 26, go ahead and check out this video right here.